Hi guys, I'm Van Orn and this is another Dragonheir Silence God video. Welcome back to the channel. It's 6 a.m. here in UK. I have a busy day today and this is the only moment I have to be able to record a video. So I want to get straight on. We have finally defeated the end game boss. He's gone, as you can see on the screen. Yesterday reached 100% in the morning, so we had the entire day to hit our keys and get the last damage done. And today, after reset, it's gone. I'm kind of happy on how things went. We have seen my composition before. We have seen the healers, if you've been following the channel, getting in details and talking about how to sustain your team with only one healer per team. And today I want to talk about DPS. Before we get into that, because we have a lot we could talk about, let's have a look at the ranking. At the moment, I'm ranking 75 overall in the season in the Eco Slasher. I might gonna drop a few positions for sure, but I shouldn't drop below the 150, which is the bracket I want to be in to be able to get resources and my epic ticket for the summoning for season 4. After all, positioning in the bracket is only for ego, so that's not a problem. Even if I drop a few places, last season ended up at 72 as ranking. This season 75 at the moment is not too bad considering the merging and the fact that I start the season 10 days after anybody else. So I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to do over there. But the most important part for today is going to be my ranking in the damage scoring, which is still at position 75. I've been able to do 5,600,000,000, which is a good scoring, nothing crazy. But you can see you could do way more than I did. But obviously I don't have a super stacked up roster. I don't have the crazy artifact that most of this player have, Inspire, Champion, anything that can go to contribute towards your damage. I just want to have a little bit of a dive into the DPS and the damage schools and see what has been useful, what is not, what you can build, especially if you're starting the season after you've seen this video. So you can know from the beginning what you can invest easily on and what is going to be more difficult to use throughout the entire season. Chaos Shadow bosses, other world exploration, endgame, and normal content. Before we get into that, there is another caveat that I want to do. You saw a lot of news, or sort of news. For me, those are called kind of nothing burger. There is really nothing new to talk about the news of the rewards or compensation we're going to have next week. We knew they were coming. The only difference we have is that it's going to come next week. And that's all you really need to know. I'm sorry if you wasted your time watching videos hoping for something more. We don't know what champion is going to come. We don't know what artifact is going to come. We don't know how much resources we're going to get. So that's all you need to know. And I also want to show you an anticipation of one of the next content you're going to see on this channel, because a couple of days ago, after a long grind, I finally be able to get my hands on the lucky play card, which I haven't bought yet from the shop, but I have the resources for doing. And I'm going to work on an arena content that is going to come next on this channel. So stick around if you are interested in that sort of content. We're going to have a look at a bit of strategies for this season, what happens and how the change to the arena has impacted and made easier to get to the artifact. So again, if you're starting the season later on, this content might be useful for you. So let's get on to the gallery over here and let's start having a look at the different damage type. And we're just going to go in order and we're going to have a brief review of what happened for the season, what we basically find out playing season 3. So let's start from the top one, which is going to be Wild. As you can see, I only have the 3 legendary over here and I've used the epics throughout the entire season. Nevertheless, Wild always deliver. Season 1, season 2, season 3 is always a good basically school of damage to invest on. So don't feel sorry if you put your buck on Heritage. It's still going to be useful anywhere in the game. I've been able to do a lot of damage on the chaos bosses with wild. I've been able to easily do 2 teams for the otherworld exploration. I've been able to do 110 million, I think, with this team, which run Erich, Foley, Tonanan. And I was using TF replacing the decreased defense, a rare. It's a well-designed School of Damage that has utility throughout the entirety of the champions. Nedda is a very good DPS. Brolin is also good DPS. Alfie good with Enabler. Karaman maybe is the one that do less damage here, but he's very good in arena. So all of them is very good. And if you have Flora, you're gonna be able to do easy 200 million. Say easy, but you know, if you have Flora, you might have also some legendary artifact, or if you don't, but you're gonna have an easy, strong composition for the end game. Doing for sure over 150 million. She is incredible if you pair it with other 3 wild, proccing wild constantly and gaining damage all the time. Felicity also really good over here. Rush good as well. Maybe subparts to others. Caspar, Sam always a bit kind of meh, but it can do damage. So, and he has an aura which can be used in all battles, so it helps. One of my problems, for example, was to bring an aura for the end game because Tonanan and Erich don't have it. I was trying to use Tia for deploying the decreased defense. She has a triple hit on her ultimate, so it's good enough. And the only solution I had was Foley, and so I started bringing her because she has a crit damage aura, which was the only one that I could use over here. So obviously if you have Felicity, she has a crit damage in all battles as well, even better if you have Caspar. I don't think Rush has an aura, but nevertheless, if you have Flora, she just do everything for you. Attacking all battle, your damage dealing, she is absolutely amazing. You should use it everywhere if you get her. Build her right, she needs attack and enlightenment, forget anything else, and bring a lot of wild champions, and she's gonna proc so much damage. So wild for sure is a winner as usual. It's never been anything less than that. Season 1, season 2 is always good, and season 3 for sure still there. Not the best, never kind of the best, but always up there with a good School of Damage. Let's pass to the next one, which is gonna be Burn. I have a lucky of legendary over here, so I've been using epic and rare. It was one of my team for the end game. I had Ratches hitting for 3 million, or around 3 million, 0.4, something like that. If you put on a lot of burns, he's gonna smack, and he's a very good epic. I like this damage, School of Damage, because the legendary are all good. Karf is a good enabler. Durim brings some damage if you build him with damage, but he's also kind of an enabler, giving you some buff with the ultimate. I believe he does 25% attacks up and critical damage for all the burns allies. So if you have the full roster of the legendary, you're gonna have burn applier, someone that does some damage and brings more damage to the others, and then you're gonna have a Sketchus hitting and sneezing how that animation looks like and doing crazy damage. I've seen this comp push to 200 million, obviously with legendary artifact, stacked accounts and everything, but you know, Sketchus is a very good DPS. I like this School of Damage a lot, as I said, because you can scale down and bring your Ratches. Maybe in the epics, Ratches is the only good one really. Lyle, it's kind of lackluster. It doesn't do a lot of damage. I can't really squeeze anything out of this guy. And Zrak, it's subparts to Biggs. So you're gonna have Biggs applying the burn, which is an incredible burn appliers if you don't have the legendary. Parsival function a little bit like Durim, and is going to go before your DPS, giving you attack, increased attack for the burns, and then you can use the Ratches. I pushed this comp with 3 epics, and then I brought in a DPS from Raleigh because I couldn't get much damage out of the other epics over here. I brought this comp though to 110 million roughly. So it is still good. You need your 1 support, you bring 3 burn and another DPS from somewhere else. You can bring a wild champion if you have a leftover one. You can bring someone else and you're gonna do well. 110 million is not something to be shy about. So let's move on to Frost. Frost, probably one of the first kind of loser of season 3. Still a good DPS, School of Damage in general, but didn't perform as well on the end game. The exclusive was not doing that much damage. If you have Oster and Olkadir, you can push damage obviously on this boss. But overall, if you don't have those key legendary champion, it's going to be difficult for you to get anywhere close to 200 million or over 150 or even sometimes close to 100. I only had Drits and then I had to use my epics. I tried to build a Frost comp, but it wasn't working for me. And so I reverted to something else. You might be more lucky than me with the legendary and maybe you can squeeze something good out of it. I doubt you're going to pass much farther the 100 million unless you are super stacked with Inspired Champion and crazy legendary artifact. I've used a lot of these champions throughout the season, to be honest though. I used Dritz and Usha in a mix of Ice Blast and Frost on the Chaos bosses, Chaos Shadow bosses, because I don't have a Ice Blast enabler to basically sustain 4 DPS from the Ice Blast, and so I was using a 2 and 2 to get more damage. I've used Rava because multi-hit ultimate with the DPS aura in all battles, which Ice Blast don't have, and so I've used Rava in my Ice Blast team on this endgame boss. But past that, to be honest, I didn't felt the need of the Ice Frost damage in this season. Still good, still well balanced, one of my favorite school of damage overall, but unfortunately not so useful for the content and the way the season has gone. So let's move to the next one, which is going to be Ice Blast, obviously the other highest school of damage. As you can see, I don't have any of the legendary, but if you have the exclusive Bedell, like most of the exclusive, you are going to do 200 million quite easily if you have obviously the right cast around and the right artifact and the right gear. But you can push big damage nevertheless on the end game. Bedell is an incredible DPS. If you have Shina to enable her, you can bring obviously other good DPS from the epic. Zorak has been, I've seen, has been quite used this time around. I'm not sure why it worked better because I don't have it and I didn't dive into it, but all of the legendary were useful to the end game. Obviously, when it comes to Chaos Shadows and Otherworld exploration, Ice Blast was always up there to be one of the best DPS school. So don't worry about if you want to invest on this school, you can always do. Pair with Poison this season, so easier to keep alive. We had amazing support from the Ice this season, so overall the Frost Ice affinity has improved a lot. The epics are always great. Gertin is probably the best epic DPS. It's out there with Tonanon, probably very close, if not better. Sadik is a good DPS too, and Bladin is kind of an enabler, but it can also do some damage. Nord, if you build it with a lot of attack speeds, because it's a bit weird kit, it can give you a lot of Ice Crystal, but they're all usable throughout the entirety of the roster of the School of Damage. And so another good School of Damage for sure, even for Season 3. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Dauntless. And this is probably my favorite at all School of Damage in the entire game. Maybe because I have so many, but also because the entirety of the roster is usable. all of these champions always come to find a place in every season. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. There's never been a content where this school of damage has kind of fell behind. They are very good DPS. I've been quite lucky to have 3 legendary over here. I miss probably the 2 that are doing the most damage. Terrivolt is probably the best non-exclusive legendary Dauntless as DPS goes, and Najenka is being exclusive. This school of damage, it's capable to reach to 100 million, depending obviously on who you have on the end game boss. Najenka does crazy damage throughout the entire season. You can use it on Chaos Shadows, Otherworld Exploration, end game. She's gonna do crazy damage. With the champions I've been able to have a composition pushing over 155 million and a second Dauntless team. If I wanted to run that was going around 100 million, sub 100 million, but very close to 100 million with the leftover epics. And they're all good. Maybe Tarnus is a bit the only one that is lackluster compared to the other 3 epics. Yagnuts and Vanny probably the 2 stand out from the rare. Altair could be good too. I'm not sure about Emerald and Haug, but the champions overall are quite good. You can invest of them, you can gonna use them, and yeah, I just like this school of damage. The animations are always great. The damage, it's building up so fast. I've used for part of the season a Dauntless team on the Vortex as well, because I have Fatum down and I have Nathaniel. So those 2 were basically my tank, my cleansing, my shielding, my healing. And so why not bring 3 DPS and just see how the Vortex was going. And so for most of the season, until I realized that I had a better choice in my roster, I've been using Dauntless, mainly because it allows me in the beginning to focus all my Psychic Core on one affinity, and they are all lightning, so whatever the affinity rotation will be, I'll always be able to use that team. But that can be done also with epics if you have them. So if you're lucky to have Fatum down doing that crazy decrease attack on his ultimate, if you have Nathaniel, which is an epic, you can always add 3 DPS from the Dauntless and you can have a decently working Vortex throughout the entirety of the change of the game, season after season. So let's move to the next one, which is going to be Thunderbolt. And as you can see, I have all the Thunderbolt, including the exclusive Perkunte. Now, this is probably the biggest letdown of this season because there was really no content for AoE, and the way the electrocution work, it really benefits from the amount of targets you have in front of you, and so none of this was really usable in the endgame content. So other words, chaos bosses or endgame, it really didn't deliver. I've used Perkunte throughout the season. I've used him. It was my first arena DPS. I built him with the slingshot. He was applying himself the Thunderbolt with his battle skills and then activating it with his ultimate and hitting very strongly. I've used them on the Goblin because he has a crazy AoE damage on his ultimate, but except for that, I really didn't use much. So yeah, kind of not really usable for this season, but it's not because the school of damage is not good. It's mostly because of the content we had in the season. In season 2, the end game boss was more AoE damage focused, and so they shine over there. Over here they didn't, because we have a single one. My game decided to disconnect somehow, so we reconnect in and we're gonna jump back to where we were. But yeah, Thunderbolt was a bit one of the biggest letdown of the season, as I said, due mostly to content and nothing else. So next one is going to be Rally. Rally, it's always a good school of damage, in particular if you have the legendaries. If you had Laurentil and maybe Alton or Filto or Thelendor, or Huber, all of them. You can build an endgame team that goes every 15 seconds and then do 200 million, but you need to have Laurentiil recharging the ultimates of the others. If you don't, it's really not usable. It was really pivotal for the usage of the rally for the endgame, but obviously you can use rally throughout the season. I personally struggled with the champions I had to use a rally to a proficient degree on the Chaos Shadow bosses and the Otherworld exploration. I personally been able to push more damage through another school of damage we're going to see in a second, which is quite crazy because it's considered subpart. So my opinion towards rally is also probably due to the fact that I don't have some of the key rally legendary. If you have Alton and Laurentiil to enable your damage more, maybe it's different, but for me it's been too difficult to use, and so I haven't really used it that much. I built it. I've always enjoyed rally, but it's not the best for season 3. The other, obviously, Radiant School of Damage is going to be Aura. Aura is new to season 3, and if you have the exclusive, you can do a lot of damage. She does a lot of damage, obviously. She doesn't need crit rate, so you can build her for making a lot of damage, but the other legendaries are kind of subparts. And even her doing a lot of damage, she doesn't do that much damage compared to other school of damage. I said damage too many times, but nevertheless, the epics are usable. I've been using these 3 epics as DPS on the Chaos Shadows and the Otherworld exploration. They were one of my team, the 3 of them with 1 support and a level 1 sickle. The team were decent. They do decent damage, nothing crazy. But remember that in Otherworld exploration, you only have to push for 22 million. In Chaos Shadow with a full team, 2 support, and these 3, I think I pushed over 50 millions with them, 45, 50 millions with them. So it was decent, nothing crazy. But again, you see I don't have a crazy roster, so it was one of my best options. They are usable. They are not as bad as people want to depict them. They're not crazy good neither though. So it's kind of meh, and you really need to have the exclusive to make it work to a good degree. So let's move to the next one, which is going to be Summon. Summon, as always, kind of meh. I've used the epics on the Chaos Shadows and the Otherworld exploration, in particular Otherworld exploration, because I needed 15 teams, so you go for whatever you have, you scrap the bottom of the barrel, and you get out the epics, Joyce and Zadok, always doing some good damage, but not crazy good neither. And when it comes to the end game, they never deliver. They never able to do much over there. So it's for sure one of the loser of the season. They need to change something in Salmon. I don't think that the way they work at the moment it's good. they could in a way just fix it by adding back what was there I've heard in the beta, which is some decreased defense on some of this champion, and so they will be unique and maybe people will play them more. But at the moment there is really no much need to play Summoning. If you have better options, you only play them in Otherworld exploration when you really need to get a team going to get to 15, and so you have kind of used them, but that's about it. And it's a shame because in the necrotic affinity we have now a new skill damage, which I've been blessed, and I've been able to summon all of them, including the exclusive. And this skill of damage is by far the best quality of life update of season 3 for me. I've used this comp for everything, literally everything. It's been my clearing comp for the Fami Under. I've cleared pretty much every single stage, boss excluded obviously, with this team. because their ultimate goes off so early. They do stupid damage. It is incredible to just clear the stages with this one so fast. I've cleaned obviously the Pillar of Darkness with them so easily, which is crazy, crazy, crazy easy. They've been my Vortex team for the second part of the season. I've been able to push this comp over 94 million when the right damage was there, when the right damage bonuses were there. I've been using it for every single dungeon, from Goblin to all the graves. I've been using it on the Ancient Battlefield and the on the heretical runes, but not the Ancient Battlefield. On the Ancient Battlefield, I had to use something different because they are a bit too squishy and the boss has those damage stoppage. So you kind of have to have a team that sustained damage, and it was not possible with that. So with the exception of one dungeon, they have been my one comp for all. And obviously Ozul can do crazy damage, and Asphalta is going to be the star on my arena video that you're going to see soon. She basically made my arena team leap from the low ranking and all the way to the tops. The tops little bit of the best players up there, ending few times in top 20, few times in top 30. And so yeah, the best DPS school added this season by far. Able to do crazy damage on bosses too. I had one team on the Chaos Shadow bosses with all my Shadow together doing the highest damage from my account. I had two teams on the other world. I split them out because I only had to get to 22 millions, and both Ozul and Asphalta can get the comps very easily to that point. And then they went back all together for one team for the end game, and it was still my best comp. I did 168 million. I don't have the Necrosis artifact. I don't have the exclusive. I don't have crazy legendary artifact. I just have some, which is remain, you know, but nothing really that boosts the damage directly. And nevertheless, I push 168 million with this comp, which is pretty crazy. So let's jump to the last two. Let's have a look at Poison. Poison, another highly regarded as subpart school of damage, but can do good damage in the right contest. I haven't seen really anyone playing it on Otherworlds or Chaos Shadows, but I've seen composition with Poison for the end game. Due to the way the fight is made, you can, with 30-second rotation, you can stack up a lot of Poison. But we are always talking about legendaries, because the epics really don't make the cut over here. I've tried to build my comp for Poison for the boss, for the endgame boss, using Shank and Corin to enable Jantalia to explode poison, but you really need 40 stacks of poison to make her viable. She's a good DPS. You can push a comp with her and Dragon Twitch and Vikana Isod. So if you don't have the exclusive but you have the other full legendary, you can push it over 130 million, working a lot on your artifacts and gear, but for sure over the 100 million. But if you have lots of gear, you have another 200 million comp over there. He does so much damage, and when there is 40 stacks of poison out there, is one of the best DPS for bosses. Obviously, he's an exclusive, not so easy to get, but maybe you're lucky and you can use it. And again, Jantalia, it's not so bad. She's one of those attack and enlightenment champion to build. Forget crit rate, forget crit damage. I've tried to build it that way. The damage is way lower. Just explode the poison, do a lot of damage, and multiply it by the attack and the enlightenment, and you're gonna push big number. But if you don't have legendary except for her, probably not worth investing this season. You can save your resources and place it somewhere else, unfortunately. And then we get to the last one, the Corrosion, the last of the new School of Damage adds in season 3. Amazing. amazing school of damage, especially if you have Rook. Rook have been the blessing and curse of Season 3 for many ways. If you want best DPS in the game by far, if you have him, you are probably going to rank very high on Vortex every single week. You're not going to have to worry about doing massive damage on the Chaos Shadows. It's going to be one of your comp, or maybe even two, on the Otherworld Exploration, because you can use Rook with some of the rares and epics, and then bring Whisk and Sacridia for doing the damage on the another team if you want in Otherworld, so to get to 15 teams. And in endgame, it's by far the best DPS. First phase of the game, you're gonna get to 200 million super easy. In second phase, nothing really changed over there. Still one of the best comp. You can push over 200 million because the damage ramp up so quickly that you can get there so easily. And so you have 8 minutes to push over 200 million basically, and you can do it. Now, I don't think I've shared on video my opinions on Rook, so I'm gonna take one quick minute to talk about this. And I'm sorry if you have Rook and you feel offended by what I'm about to share. I don't know what to do about it, but I don't think that this champion is good for the health of the game. Is redefining a class of damage on his own is so far beyond anything else that it creates a void behind, and that void need to be filled somehow, either by buffing everything else in the game or by putting limiters on any content that will come out from this point onwards to not allow him to scale so above anything else. He can do, in a normal comp with corrosion champions, he can do more damage than a fully inspired Dauntless or Wild team with Flora and Ajenka. So that it's not healthy for the game. And I think a reasonable spot for this champion will be 10-15% better than what the damage that you can do. What is the damage you can do with a Dauntless, a Shadow, or Wild team at same level of inspiration. So let's say you don't have any inspiration on both of comp. You still need to be the best DPS by a good 10-15%, for example, but not so far above as it is right now. It puts the game in a difficult spot for the future. Even economically speaking, if you bring this new champion for Season 4, why do the people that spends go for them when they already have Rook and they can still blast through any content? I don't think it's healthy overall. And I think if you are a Rook owner and you feel hurt by my opinion, if you step back a little bit and you look at the game and the future of the game, you can understand my position. I'm not talking about erasing the champion or destroying what it is. You still need to be the best DPS, but not so far above the others. And that's pretty much everything I have on the DPS for this season. I think overall, I would have wished for a little bit more of AoE somewhere. There's really been nothing for AoE. None of the bosses, none of the Chaos Shadow, not the end game, not of the dungeon really. There's no needs for massive AoE damage dealer, and so this is kind of moved the balance of where the DPS stand. I think that moving forward they should keep that in consideration a little bit more, because we have so many amazing champions that we want to play, and it's nice to build them and try them out. Now, I am a bit privileged maybe because I get a little bit more resources than normal player, but look how many champions I built. I think it's like close to 60, level 100. I have another 20 or so level 99. I have many more level 90, and I'm starting to build a lot of level 70 because obviously you can still get the worm arrow from the reviews. And so I'm building those that I didn't have before to try to get them to 70 and help the community identifying what the good characters are and what they're not. But there are so many more that can be played somehow. Look how many legendary I didn't build. these are all legendary that I have that I didn't build and use, which is a bit of a shame. But they didn't have a place, and so I don't need them, and so I'm not gonna build them. I hope that moving forward they're gonna bring something more for AoE for sure, and maybe we're gonna have some good news for season 4. Let's see what is there for us. For the moment, this is everything, guys. As always, if you enjoy the content, consider liking and subscribing. It will help the channel way more than you can imagine. And until the next video, guys, have fun.